Hey everyone, it's Matt C, and I'm pretty thrilled about having my Indiegogo officially announced. Now it's kind of like a doing the pre-launch site. On some level, it kind of feels like a throwaway because you're really focusing behind the scenes on the actual content of the campaign itself, and you're trying to make that look really nice. And it's extra funny because Indiegogo suggests it's like the pre-launch page is like the first thing that you get to, and you just kind of like say, I want to click past that, and you start on the actual campaign content, and you forget about that pre-launch campaign until until you remember it, till you see other people doing it, and you think, you know what, it would be nice to notify a person or two as soon as this thing comes out. So it's fun to get that out there. It's kind of a load off my shoulders. It's kind of like a coming out ceremony. It's nice to just I've been kind of waffling for a good long while, and I've been working on KYRIE for 5 years now, and it's now or never. And honestly, it's the best time to do it because indie comics are actually kind of experiencing there's something of a seismic shift going on, and comics drama is kind of creating the chaos is creating opportunities. So it's pretty interesting. So as you know, I'm coming out on Indiegogo. I'm announcing my campaign. uh, yeah, and so I'm excited, and I've just been thinking about. I got friends in Comicsgate. I've got friends who are not in Comicsgate, and I've been thinking about what I think about Comicsgate. So, I mean, in the spirit of coming out, I wanted to kind of put my throw my hat into the ring of what I think I personally believe. I'm I'm having trouble kind of parsing it because it's going to be spoiler. It's going to be a bit complicated, and it's probably gonna. Well, you'll see. So, and I'm not futzing around either because I've had a couple years to think about this since the hashtag kind of got around. So, there are a couple of things. I don't know, for some reason I always tend to metaphors, and oftentimes it's like movie metaphors. I've been thinking about Bane. Been thinking about what is that quote? You know what I'm talking about. He's like breaking Batman's back, and he's like, you think the darkness is your ally. You merely adopted the dark. Well, here's my message to Comicsgate. I got a message for y'all. All right, I got a message. Anyone can hear it, but this one's directed to Comicsgate. You guys, you think indie comics is your ally. You merely adopted it. I know them's fighting words, but you know it's true. You're still looking back. You're turning your head and you're looking over that shoulder towards the big two still, and you're thinking, man, if only we had changed the big two. Indie comics is great, but it's the next best thing, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of been my assessment from the start, just kind of tuning in. A lot of times I've been tuning into Comicsgate stuff really because that's where the transparency is in people kind of developing campaigns from start to finish. Anti-Comicsgate just doesn't do that, and I guess they have their own reasons that I've never figured out. But I think there's a democratic zeal in Comicsgate that I actually do really admire. It's one of the reasons I'm going back to that Bane thing. I was born in indie comics. I was molded by it. I didn't see Big Two. I didn't see Marvel, DC, superhero, your Spider-Man and your Batman until I was already a man. Okay? And by then, it was already SJW. I grew up on European comics. I've kind of said this before in other videos. I grew up on European stuff, some manga, um, a lot of anthology stuff in the early 2000s. Got really big. That's when graphic novels became like a something in common parlance. And I was always out here. I mean, this is where it's here comes another metaphor. It's like I grew up in the Wild West, like the cities, those city slickers back there. There's some good people over there. There's some people doing good work. There's some people kind of screwing around, messing up other people's livelihoods, messing up whole industries. And I've never really been a part of it. I never wanted to. My first comics were indie comics, or like stuff outside of, sometimes people say indie and they just really mean like smaller press or creator owned, but being distributed by a big press. And that's, Image isn't indie comics. So there's a lot of Image stuff that I read. That's about as close as I got to the big two stuff. And I didn't spend a lot of time in local comic book stores because that's not where the stories really were for me. I was going to Barnes and Noble. I was going to Borders. Do you remember Borders? So yeah, I've been out here in the Wild West, enjoying the freedom, the radical democratic kind of approach to building campaigns and doing things on your own, going it alone, or building small communities or big communities, but building it. It's kind of the libertarian dream out here, and that's what's always attracted me to it. There's always been a lot of actual diversity in every respect, the ways that people popularly mean it and the ways that people overlook. It's diverse top to bottom in every way you slice it out here. And Comicsgate, do you remember Mormonism? So here comes metaphor number 4 or 5. I've been thinking about Mormonism. Remember Mitt Romney? It's like all these city slickers, they move out to the west, they get some cheap land and they get to work. And I'm not bothering them, they're not bothering me, but they're I might actually agree with a lot of the things they're saying about the cities that they came from, the big towns back east that they've immigrated out of. And I don't know, some of these guys are saying, your Joseph Smiths and your Brigham Youngs are saying, if you're not living in the cities, if you don't like the city, then you're a Mormon. That's basically been the thesis from Ethan Van Sciver and a lot of other bigger names, is if you don't like what you see in Marvel and DC, then you're Comicsgate. And I'm not Mormon. I'm not I'm out here doing what I do because I'm not superhero stories is not equivalent to comic book stories for me. I got lots of friends. Some of my best friends enjoy comic book stories that are exclusively about superheroes, and that's fine. It's an American tradition, but that's not why I'm out here. If I was born in the Wild West reading indie stuff, like weird fantasy drama stuff, zines, things of that nature. And if I had plenty of opportunity to move east to the big cities and go read my Batman, but I never was that interested. I feel like the bigger stories, the free stories, are out here. So I'm out here making indie content because I think it's important to okay, here's one last weird random quote that has nothing to do with anything else. I'm trying to be the change that I want to see in the industry, uh, and I want to contribute positively to the industry in a way that I see is lacking. And that's not necessarily a Comicsgate thing. I think that's a opportunity in the industry thing. That's a short-sightedness in the industry, and I think that's been there since not since 2014, 15. It's been there since comics kind of collapsed and then consolidated under the people in capes vision in the 1960s and 70s, and consolidated around that, rallied around that single banner in America. While they've always been a loose, like a federation of decentralized sort of visions in Europe, in Canada, honestly, lots of great content always coming out of Canada, and in Europe. Wow, this is probably the worst video I've ever made, because it's I've been thinking for a while about how to coherently piece together what I thought my ideas are on, like where I stand, Comicsgate, anti-Comicsgate, because a lot of people, I think clarity on that is my responsibility as much as anyone else's. Do I want to work at Marvel and DC? Never have, never will. Do I want Iron Man to stay Iron Man? I don't I don't care. Do I want content made and distributed, created, distributed, and put into the hands of people who like things that are outside of the box, outside of the current tastemakers' expected norms? Yes, and that's been my vision for comics for the last 20 years, since I started reading it as a kid, and that's been a lot of people's visions for decades. And whether that's changing up superhero stuff, making it more traditional or not, that's not my game. You do you, but I'm out here trying to make a good comic, and I'm trying to do it independently. And I appreciate a lot of comic skaters and anti-comic skaters who are doing the same thing. Y'all actually have a lot in common if you're out here in the indie scene. If you're still trying to change Marvel and DC, that's another story. But if you're out here trying to make a living independently, putting out good, original, thoughtful, genuinely creative content, and be beholden to readers, and to serve their interests, that's nothing new. That's nothing Comicsgate. Comicsgate can't claim that. Indie Comics can claim that, and Comicsgate can share in that already established vision. That's what the Wild West is about. It's been the Wild West already. They didn't. Mormons can come out here and they can enjoy the Purple Mountains majesty in the rolling fields of grain that we got way out here in God's country. But just because I'm out here doesn't make me a Mormon, but it does mean that I'm here to make good comics, and let's do what we can to support one another, regardless of whether or not you're using a hashtag, because the vision is shared, and that across every kind of hashtag. If you're out here doing indie stuff, and that's let's make good, original, truly creative content. And as far as I can tell, this is me leaving the Mormon thing behind, which is probably for the best. But as far as I can tell, the best thing for Comicsgate is to stop having the name Comicsgate. And it's just making good content. I see some of the leaders saying that. I don't see a ton of people following suit, maybe some of them, but let's just let our work speak for itself. How about that? That's what I'm trying to do with KYRIE, with my Indiegogo campaign that I will be launching soonish. I just got estimates back from the printer. That's been the main thing that's been holding me back. They're great rates, fantastic, better than what I was seeing on these InstaQuote. I feel like they mark everything up like 20-30% on these InstaQuote things just to pay for their InstaQuote site. It's not good. What you need is you got to have some phone calls with some printers. Take an hour like I did and really just explain what you're trying to do. It's good stuff. You're gonna make better rates. I'm probably gonna make a video about that. Some more, just kind of document out loud what my process has been, because transparency is key. That's one of the great things that I'm loving about indie comics right now, is there's a lot of people making content, and they're doing it transparently, and it's beautiful. This isn't this hierarchical top down, like, haha, I got in, and now I finally get to be the person who doesn't have to tell all the plebs how I got here. See, can you tell I grew up out here, out west in the Wild West? Like, I'm not a city slicker. I'm not casting an eye back east. I'm not. Never came from there. I hear some people like it. Not interested. I'm out here, and I'm staying out here. And anyone who wants to be my neighbor, that's cool. Just play nice with all your other neighbors. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying to Comicsgate. That's all I'm saying to anti-Comicsgate. Just play nice with your neighbors. So that's my rambling summary. I hope that's clear where I'm at. This isn't a binary. If you're out here doing indie comics, there's no such thing as binaries. There just isn't. There's every perspective, under every title, behind every creative out here. That's the definition of indie. So you can take your binaries and you can move back to the city, or you can learn how to invest in a community that's a lot more diverse than the world that you came from. That's my warning, and that's my charge. That's my encouragement to everyone who's out here doing your thing. I'm here to shake hands with you. Just be cool, all right? I don't have to agree with you politically or anything. I think I agree with almost no one politically, especially in comics. That goes for both sides of this Comicsgate thing. But it doesn't mean I'm not here to make great comics alongside you, all right? So that's where I'm at. So I'm here. I'm having a good time. Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.